a realistic take almost on multiple personality disorder,
Yes.
aside from the weird time sharing thing.
Right. Yeah.
So
And I loved it. I liked
did you
it.
like it?
I loved it.
I really enjoyed it too.
Yeah.
There had some twists and some shocking moments to it that I didn't expect. Which is hard to do because usually I can see where a film is going.
Right.
And this took me to a completely different direction. So the thing about Jonathan is they make you interested in this guy because he's helpful. You know, he helps the old lady. He stays in time. He's a hard worker. So they do all the kind of the usual tricks to make you kind of be sympathetic for a character, right?
Right.
Now, the interesting thing is they paint him as the central character. Obviously, the film is named after him, and everything is from his perspective. We never live life through the alter ego of John, right?
Yeah.
We only see it through recordings that he watches every day that his brother makes. Right. And then we learn about the relationship, which I thought was really cool. What do you think?
I love that dynamic because you almost expect that we're going to get to see the other side. And I really like that they took that path of we're only seeing it through one perspective, which obviously leads you to think, okay, this is either multiple personality or some kind of schizophrenia, where it really truly is one person versus two people living their separate lives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, every film I've ever seen with like an MPD personality disorder is like Split, you know, where you get to watch the character, you get to watch the actor kind of split between these personalities. And then, you know, it's really cool to watch it. This is not that. And they work a thriller aspect, I would say, into it through the fact that we never see what's going on with the other person's life. We only hear about it after the fact. So then he has to start discovering what his brother is doing.
Right.
Because he doesn't really trust his brother. So he hires a private investigator to investigate himself, which I thought was like super clever.
So good.
And I really thought it was cool. And so then the big breaking moment is when we discover, or Jonathan discovers, that his brother has a girlfriend.
Right.
Did you see that coming?
No, I mean, he lives a nightlife. So you kind of almost think he alludes to the fact that he's got some kind of life going on where he says like, hey, you know, we went to the bar because so-and-so broke with his girlfriend. And,
right.
And immediately there was a tinge in Jonathan's character where he's like, that's kind of against the rules. So you know something's coming from that, essentially.
Yeah, I agree with you. And that's really interesting with character development. Jonathan, the daytime personality, is very controlling of his environment.
Right.
He has all of these rules that, you know, you can't change. And he's very by the book. He eats food exactly the same. He eats the same meals. He works in this perfect little budget. And he tries to be a little bit of a people pleaser. And the way you look at people like that, you know, and I don't mean this to come off the wrong way, but to me, it sounds like a cult leader, because you get these cult leaders and deep down inside, they're the most insecure people you'll ever meet, but they're super controlling because of their insecurity. So when I'm looking at this character and I'm seeing all of these things he's doing, I'm thinking this is actually a very insecure person. This is a weak person, and he has to exert all of this control to protect himself. So I saw that, but then you look at the John character, right? And he's a nightlife, he's a partier, he's a free spirit. He's everything that the day person isn't, right? He's not really responsible. He, you know, he doesn't do his laundry. He doesn't clean the dishes, you know. So initially they paint him as the antagonist, and you think he's not pulling up his part of the bargain.
Sure.
Because he's not responsible, and we think that the the day personality, Jonathan, is responsible.
Right.
But in fact, I think it's different. I think it's the day personality isn't strong-willed, right? Whereas the night personality is. And I think there's a fascinating dichotomy.
It was so, the whole time we're kind of going through the narrative, up until one point, and I'll get to it in a second, I'm thinking, while this feels like a multiple personality kind of look,
Yeah.
it really started to become like a yin and yang, or left brain, right brain,
Interesting.
or night, day, light, dark to me. So there was this dichotomy between the two of them, and one can't survive without the other, or one can't thrive without the other. It's a balanced scale, essentially.
Yeah. And that's what these two are living in harmony at first, until one, throws it all away.
Right.
So then the big moment is when the nighttime personality has to break up with the girlfriend, and he can't do it. So then the daytime personality tracks her down, which is wild. And so things go to hell, and the girlfriend's out of the picture. And then the nighttime personality is so grieved by this, he quits communicating with his brother, which then sends his brother down a spiral, which I thought was brilliant, because that's when you learn he is obsessed with his brother.
Right.
It's more than just being brothers. It's more than just being a brotherly love. Like, he's almost in love with his brother, where
for sure,
where he hunts down this guy's girlfriend and starts dating her just so that he could somehow weirdly be closer to his brother, which I thought is wild.
Yeah, but it was the only way he could. I mean, there's no way to communicate with him other than through the doctor, or going to find out what was attractive to his brother in the first place, and it's this woman.
Yeah.
So I need to find my brother, and the only thing I know and how to connect with him is to go find that person.
Right. And then fall for this person, and then become intimate with this person, and which is wild. And then I look at that character, Sookie Waterhouse plays her. And this is the girlfriend that ends up dating separately at different times, both characters.
Right.
And I'm looking at her perspective like, God, that is crazy. Like,
that's weird.
You know what I mean?
I mean, like, they look the same, but you can clearly tell
they're clearly different
personalities. Like, they're different people.
Yeah. So I was just kind of like, that to me was a weaker part of the story, because I'm like, I don't know anybody who would dive into that.
Right.
And not be super weirded out.
She was the plot point, though, that had to get that turn to happen. So I feel like, while it makes sense, it was, she wasn't.
Well, I'm just, thank God that she wasn't in that narrative for too long, because I'm thinking this film is going to be like, he's going to try and kill his brother to be with the girl, and all of this wild stuff is going to be tacky. No, she just leaves, and she can't do it anymore, and I thought, okay, good. So now where is the story going? So they brought in the fact that there used to be 3 brothers.
That's the part that threw me.
Right.
That was the moment that I was like,
yeah, out of the blue.
Yes.
Yeah. Never really hinted, they tried to hint at a little bit in earlier Act 1 with the doctor who performed the procedure says, I don't want to have to step in again. It was almost too subtle, so that when you get hit with the 3rd brother scenario, it's too late in the game. We're already invested.
Yeah.
And
that's what threw me off, was like, wait a minute, where's this coming from? And secondly, he was it felt too cavalier or nonchalant about it, where he's just kind of explaining that. I'm like, but that's significant.
Yeah, we had a 3rd brother,
and we killed him.
She removed him. He's dead now. So what are you doing later?
Moving on.
Yeah. I was like, it was out of the blue. It was, I mean, if you're going to do that to me as an audience or as a writer, I want to explore that further. I want to see that, where they're kids and they're having these crazy personality changes. I want to see where they have to delete the 3rd brother. Right. I mean, because I believe they could have worked that into the script and not have slowed the pace down. I think we could have seen all of that, but it was glossed over. So I had a bit of a concern with that as well. That being said, boy, did the story pick up after that, though.
Oh yeah. I mean, I honestly feel like looping the doctor's character into it, and then kind of that third act where, you know, she gets involved and that whole process starts to happen, was the more fascinating part for me.
Yeah.
Because I want to know medically, how did this happen, or how did they get to this part? And is she their mother because she's acting like their mother?
Oh,
And
very
she
much
loves
so.
them
Yeah.
like she's their mother, but she's not their mom.
Yeah. Did she adopt them? How long were they living? Yeah. I want to know
Right.
all of that stuff. And I don't want a prequel to know it. It felt almost like two different movies.
It did.
You
Yeah.
know, and I would almost rather see more of that later act earlier developed than
Sure.
their life as it was. I really think you could have done it with some flashbacks, or just rearranging the structure in a way that you would have been able to satisfy that narrative.
Yeah. I
And to
agree.
not just hit somebody blunt in the head, be like, boom, plot point, and you're like, whoa.
Right. Where'd that come from?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that being said, I do like how much it picked up the stakes there, and it got really interesting. Now, I loved the thriller aspect of this film, especially when the nighttime personality started really invading the daytime personality, but we never saw it. Right?
Yeah.
It was
Right.
just cuts. It was edits to the film. It was just a blackout, and then you show the character in a different moment, and you're going, ooh, what the hell's going on?
Yeah. What happened? Where's that chunk?
Yeah.
Where did they go? Like,
Oh, no, it's great. I was getting on edge. I was like, oh, this is really good.
I was too.
By not showing what's going on and showing the results of it, boy, do you ever really kind of get the audience's mind wondering what's happening, filling those blanks, filling those blanks, and picks up that anxiety and that tension in the script. And it's a beautiful way to do that. So I think that's a good tool to put in your tool case.
Yeah. And it ups the ante too, because like it really does start to unravel them, but they're still their same personalities, where he's just getting so out of control you don't even know what he's doing.
Yeah.
And then Jonathan's like, I'm gonna chain us to the bed. That's how much control I'm gonna give him back.
Crazy. Yeah, crazy.
It was just
it shows how desperate his character is,
right,
not to stay alive, but to control his brother.
To control him. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the motivation there. And then we see quick cuts of he's going up the stairs, then the quick cut he's on the roof, then he's on the edge of the roof, and you're like, oh my God, this is crazy, right? It's really cool.
Yeah.
So I love all of that. And then the removing of the implant, and then the big discovery. You know, spoilers, guys. Now, like, you don't know we're gonna get that on a film analysis, but the truth is that the daytime Jonathan is the weaker brother, and the nighttime Jonathan, not out of his own will, he's not trying to take over. It's just happening, and that he's going to erase the daytime personality. I thought was great. I thought it was a great character reveal.
I did. And I feel like it was a commentary on kind of something you said earlier, which was, even though he's put together, Jonathan put together, in control, everything's regimented, it was just such a dull existence that it didn't have that emotional thrive, that it didn't even feel like he was living. It was just robotic. It
was dispassionate.
Right.
He was disconnected, could not connect with everybody. And then when he started to become romantically involved with a woman, you know, he started parting his hair differently. You know, he's talking about, you know, maybe I'm going to take up a new art class and all that. So he started to change a little bit, but still wasn't enough. You know, the damage had been done there. The more passionate brother is going to win out. And I like the character reveal there, where the main character, you realize, is the antagonist, and the antagonist is actually more of the protagonist hero. And I love that, because that is so difficult to sell in a script.
I know, it really is, but it worked so well. It really did.
No, I thought it was great. So I like with the final scene where he's in the cab.
Yeah.
And you got this random taxi driver.
I know. Come from. Okay.
And Steven mentioned he really likes this part of the film too. And I think it makes sense, because the guy is disconnected. He doesn't know what's going on.
Right. Yeah. He has no clue. Yeah.
So emotionally, he's like the audience, basically. He's like the eye of the audience. And so we see the brother in a cab. He doesn't know how he got there. He finds out that they're going to the airport, probably because the younger brother just wants to escape his life.
Yeah.
And now the whole thing, there's a thread line throughout where the younger brother never really gets to see the sun.
Yes. Yes.
And so as the daytime brother is going to passes the beach, he runs out of the car and he takes in the sun for one last time because he realizes he's dying.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I was like, wow.
Yeah, it was really powerful. It really, really was.
It was. I thought it was so well acted by Ansel Elgort. I think he was in Baby Driver. Guy's got talented. He's got talent.
He's been in a number of things, and everything I've ever seen him in, I just love him.
I think he did great.
Oh yeah.
So I like to check out reviews just to see how other people feel, you know, and they slammed his performance. They said that he was robotic. The term wooden was used a lot, and
that was the point.
That's what I'm saying. Like, this is where reviewing a film is different than analyzing. If we're going to analyze a film, we're going to tell you why they're doing the tricks and what they're doing, right? Now, with just being a critic, I mean, no film is perfect, no script is perfect.
No.
But the character is robotic. The character is emotionally detached. How else are you going to play him?
Right.
He's going to be like a wooden character.
Yeah.
When he's playing fun nighttime guy, he's not acting that way. He's acting like somebody that doesn't have a care in the world.
Right.
I mean, he was nailing it. So
yeah.
I was disappointed.
Bummer.
Yeah.
That's a bummer.
I think they're overly critical.
How difficult is that? I mean, I have a background in some acting. I've done a little bit, and you know, he had to he played two whole characters and carried a whole film.
Yes,
that is tough to do as an actor on screen when you're the only one, and then you're acting against a screen against yourself. He did a phenomenal job.
And he flushed out the characters. I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
The nighttime brother, you only see him on the TV. We don't get to live through his life. Yet when you see him, you feel like this is a guy who is at one point struggling with depression. Yes. This is a guy that loves his brother but can't stand his brother, right? Feels like he's almost a burden. And then when we do finally get to see how he's suicidal, and we get to see that message where he's like, I need you to have me removed, or I'm going to eventually kill us both. Right. I just don't want to kill you in the process. Like, you could feel that coming off the screen.
For sure.
Like, you could feel that presence. Like, I just think it's a bad note. So, but I think it was solid. Subtextually, I didn't see anything really. The dialogue to me was pretty straightforward, unless you were picking up stuff that I wasn't.
No, I mean, for me, it was pretty straightforward, but I thought that was the point. I thought it was to really, no, you're right. I mean, I'm on the same page as you. Yeah.
Yeah. But concept wise, heavy.
Oh, for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
A great concept, a great concept. Visual subtext, a little bit. There was some visual subtext in there. Like, when his life is unraveling, he focuses on a girl who has one shoe tied and one shoe untied.
Right.
So we had some visual subtext in there, but it wasn't heavy-handed by any means.
Yeah. And of course, you know, when he's watching the screen every time, which it always drew my eye, but you clearly are obviously seeing an opposite, because you're filming yourself, but it's very, very distinct that they're opposite, and the lighting is different because you can tell one is in the day and one is in the night.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely right. So that's perfect. And then on top of, you know, different hairstyles, different ways of dressing, and even
their
different
their closets look totally different next to each other. It was great.
Different colloquialisms, and even the fact that they had two different beds.
Yeah, I know, right?
Which I was like, wow, that's a brilliant idea. Two different beds, two different clocks.
Two different toothbrushes, which they show
two different
constantly.
Toothbrushes, same phone, and they showed with the toothbrushes how much he missed his brother. He'd play with his toothbrush, and you go, well, that's pretty damn weird, you know. But I'm thinking, like, if you look at it that they're not brothers and he's almost in love with his brother, then it totally makes sense.
Yeah, but is it he in love with his brother, or is it almost this longing and yearning to be in love with a side of yourself that you don't feel like you're able to be?
Boy, that is a hell of a point. I got to tell you, because when I look at this film, what is this thing? When I look at this film, thematically, this is what I was getting. I was getting obsessive compulsive,
Right.
codependent,
Yeah.
and an obsession.
Right.
Those are the themes that I was getting that were being hit repeatedly, right? So, I mean, none of those are healthy.
No, for sure.
But all of those lie within Jonathan.
Exactly. Yeah.
And if you don't see those in John,
Right.
so if you weigh that out, then it makes sense. He is the weaker personality.
Sure. Yeah.
So he's going to get pushed out. And then you start looking at, like, he never goes into a deep depression. He doesn't. So then you go, okay, so the nighttime brother John goes into this big dark place, goes into this deep depression, but then starts trying to pull himself out of it, even though he's struggling and failing. Well, that's human.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the whole thing. That's
Yeah.
like, at what point what side of yourself do you really feel like you can have, that you can survive from or thrive from? And
Yeah.
I just started to get that sense that was like, is this really about, two different like personality aspects, or is this like ultimately deep down, he is both people. He just does not know how to coexist with both in his one
And
brain,
secretly
right?
wants to be that brother, which makes a lot of sense that you would say that, because of his pursuit for the guy's girlfriend.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Which is super unhealthy.
Right.
But there's people that do that,
Oh, well, yeah.
which is crazy. There's like, well, I can't be with this guy, but he dated that girl, or I can't be with this girl and she dated so and so. So they'll pursue it, which is just
weird.
It's wackadoodle, but it makes sense. It's based on reality. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to pop in and ask during the Facebook group. I do have one comment here that was sent earlier. So Steve had mentioned that this was a really good case study on dissociated identity disorder, something that he did a lot of research on. And he really liked how the two identities are trying to coexist.
Right.
The time frame thing was unique, because that isn't really like that. From what I've seen is dissociated disorder personalities usually flip when the primary is somehow stressed, anxious, in danger, and then they'll flip into a, when life kind of goes crazy.
That's where the sci-fi element comes in, because it was essentially this doctor who created this method or this mechanism for them to be able to not have that unbalance between the two.
Yeah, I got. See, like, I've had people yell at me because I don't believe Children of Men is sci-fi, right? And I've had people like, you don't believe Children of Men is sci-fi, and I'm like, no,
I think it's post-apocalyptic, whatever.
I just like, this is a human drama, that's what that is. So they can't have babies. That's not sci-fi. Like, I'm like, I need aliens. I need lasers. Throw me in an explosion. You've got me at sci-fi. You had me at hello. But, post-apocalyptic, we're living it.
Yeah, for real, right?
Yeah. So it's like, if I can go outside and see it, I'm not convinced it's sci-fi. Now the little sticker that he had behind his ear would be about the most sci-fi element we had in the show. But technically it's sci-fi. I'm going to give it to you. I'm just very specific in my tastes in space lasers.
Yeah, it has to have science that's prevalent, prevalent or whatever. And
and maybe fiction,
and maybe some fiction,
and then technically we're good. All right. So
but this could not be fiction. I mean, this is like that kind of technology is actually within grasp. That's kind of really interesting. That's the interesting thing about it.
All kinds of, they're doing, chemicals, and then there's hypnosis, and there's all kinds of ways to help people nowadays that have disorders like that. So it is definitely within the realm of possibility. So what are you thinking for the next film? What's tickling your fancy?
Okay, so we've done like horror, and we've done
yep.
sci-fi.
Technically.
And rom-com, which ended up being more of a young adult film.
Yeah, so. We pick a genre. We just don't find the right film for that genre.
So I'm thinking like we should, I don't know, we should go like either like action or superhero or something along those lines. Let's go.
I'm down with any of that.
Direction.
I mean, we're not really batting 1,000. So at this point, we could say faith-based and end up with a splatter film. So,
Spider-Man. There you go.
You want to do action?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's
All right. All right. We're going to go for action. If you guys have any recommendations for actions, please let us know. I also have to say that this episode is brought to you by the Script Summit Screenplay contest, where you can win a cash prize or the chance to have a contract with a Hollywood talent manager. I've got to get that out there.
Yeah.
Other than that, you can find us at thesuccessfulscreenwriter.com, which is like your go-to place for any screenwriting resource ever. And then I have the venerable Kristy Leigh Lussier from WeFixYourScript.com.
Yep.
So thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you guys next week.
Bye.